So the FAA just announced the elimination of the expiration date on the Flight Instructor Certificate. I'm going to go over that topic and a few other related items that the FAA has come out with associated with the flight certificate in this video. All right, the FAA's removal of the expiration date on a flight instructor certificate. Let's talk about this change and some related changes to it. So why is the CFI certificate renewal process changing? Well, the FAA wants to bring the CFI certificate into alignment with the private and commercial certificates that do not have expiration dates on them. Number two, a cost-saving measure to reduce the FAA's expenses on printing and mailing reissued plastic flight instructor certificates. This is a big one for them. It's in the millions of dollars they spend over a 5-year period just reissuing new plastic certificates for flight instructors. So we'll go over the top-level flight instructor renewal changes summary. The FAA is removing the expiration date of flight instructor certificates. However, per the FAA, the flight instructors will still need to renew their certificates every 24 calendar months by either completing a flight instructor refresher clinic like a FERC or an eFERC, or acquiring an additional instructor certificate, or performing additional instructional activities such as activity as defined as at least 15 flight activities, not hours, recognized under the FAA's sponsored pilot proficiency program, during which the flight instructor evaluated at least 5 different pilots and has made the necessary endorsements in the logbooks of each pilot for each activity. So this final rule, as it's called, amends the Part 61, 14 Code of Federal Regulations for the flight instructor certificate by 1, eliminating their expiration date on the flight instructor certificate, however, replacing it effectively with a recency experience process, expanding the renewal process options, amending the reinstatement requirements, and revising the qualification for flight instructors to train initial flight instructor applicants. So an existing CFI to train a new CFI candidate. There's making some significant changes there. And lastly, to relocate and codify the requirements for relief for U.S. military and civilian personnel who seek to renew their expired flight instructor certificates but are challenged because they're living outside the United States. All these rules come into effect on December 1st, 2024. So going a little bit deeper and eliminating the expiration date on the flight instructor certificate. So instead of renewing the flight instructor certificate every 24 calendar months, a flight instructor will now need to establish recent experience at least once every 24 calendar months and submit that to the FAA. 61.197 also still allows a flight instructor to renew their license via taking a practical exam listed on their current CFI certificate, or going for an additional instructor rating, such as, let's say, a CFII, or any of the additional items in 61.197.2, such as completing a FERC course in the preceding 3 months before their license expired, having an 80% pass rate on at least 5 students in the past 24 months, served as a 121 or 135 check pilot in the preceding 24 months, or CFI passed a military instructor pilot or check pilot examiner proficiency check ride in the preceding 24 months. Section 61.197 will continue to require flight instructors to submit an airman certificate and or rating application along with associated documentation to the FAA upon completing the recent experience requirements. So they're still going to submit an S8710 or an 80-1 or 11 as the tool for basically showing that relevant experience that they obtained over the past 24 months. In regards to the CFI certificate reinstatement process, these are for people that might have had their lost the license for some period of time. The reinstated requirements for a lapsed flight instructor. The final rule amends Part 61, 14 Code of Federal Regulations on the reinstatement requirements for flight instructor certificates. Basically, they're giving you a 3-month grace lapse period to get another FERC in to regain your privileges. Prior to the rule, the only option was to take a check ride. So a lapsed CFI is not permitted to exercise the privileges of the flight instructor while they're lapsed. So basically, if your license expires, you have 3 months to go take a FERC course. This final rule amends 61.199 shown below by allowing flight instructors to reinstate their flight instructor privileges by taking an approved flight instructor refresher course, provided their recent experience has not lapsed for more than 3 calendar months. So per the existing 61.199, basically have a number of options to have it reinstated. So the holder of an expired flight instructor certificate who has not complied with the flight instructor renewal processes of 61.197 may look for reinstatement for their flight certificate and ratings by filing a completed and signed application with the FAA and satisfactorily completing one of the following reinstatement requirements. So a flight instructor certificate practical test, basically getting in and have another check ride. A flight instructor certification practical test for an additional rating. Let's say you're going for your CFII. Or for military instructor pilots, provide a record showing that within the preceding 6 calendar months from the date of application for reinstatement, the person passed a U.S. Armed Forces instructor pilot or pilot examiner proficiency check, or completed a U.S. Armed Forces instructor pilot or pilot examiner training course, and received an additional aircraft rating qualification as a military instructor pilot or pilot examiner that is appropriate to the flight instructor rating sought. So changes in way the CFI endorses a student's logbook. So the removal of the expiration date will mean that there'll be a change in the way instructors endorse a student's logbook going forward. So instead of putting the expiration date next to your CFI number and your signature, you're going to put a date relative to your recency experience. There'll be, I guess, probably more details on specifically what's shown, but it's going to be reflecting your recency experience rather than the expiration of the certificate. All right, so CFI's training flight instructor candidates. So the FAA has come up with a couple new options here that makes it a little bit easier for young CFIs to actually go out and train future flight instructors. So the FAA has basically added these 2 new methods under 61.195H-2. Option 1 is the flight instructors would have the option to qualify for providing initial flight instructor candidate training to students by qualifying by training and endorsing at least 5 applicants for practical tests for a pilot certificate or rating, with at least an 80% of those applicants passing the test on their first attempt. Option 2 is flight instructors may also qualify for providing initial flight instructor candidate training to those CFIs that have taken an approved flight instructor enhanced qualification training program, and they give the requisite number of hours of flight training. So those are the changes associated with the flight instructor certificate. Yes, they're eliminating the expiration date, but they're still requiring you to resubmit an application every 2 years, now showing your experience. There's a couple nice benefits out of it, but in general, this is really more about the FAA saving money on reprinting out plastic certificates every 2 years for flight instructors. Anyways, if you've got any questions or comments to this video, feel free to leave them below and I'll try to answer them as time permits. If you found this video useful, consider hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel so you get notified on my next video.